So we are going to start practicing markdown problems for the test tomorrow. So let's go ahead and do that. Really quickly, I'll just go ahead and remind you that our equations for our markdown is right here, right? We have our bigger number times 1 minus our percent decrease is equal to our smaller number. Or if we're talking about marking down, let's say, the cost of a baseball bat or something, we have our original price times 1 minus our markdown is equal to our sales price. Cool. Do you have any questions about this equation right here? Cool. All right, so now that we have that equation... Oh, by the way, do you have this equation written down somewhere? Okay, good. And you have the markup equation written down as well? Okay, good. So those are going to be handy. I'm not sure if you're able to use those while you're taking the test, but it's good to have them handy while you're practicing the problems, just in case you need a little reminder. Okay, so let's try this problem right here. A $300 suit is marked down by 20%. Find the sale price and round to the nearest dollar as needed. Okay, so first of all, let me ask myself the question, are we talking about a markup or a markdown here? And how do you know that? Right, so if we're using our markdown, which equation are we going to use? This one up here or this one right here? Okay, so we decided that we're talking about a markdown, and our markdown equation is this equation right here. Our bigger number times 1 minus our percent decrease is equal to our smaller number. Now if we were talking about a markup, we would use this equation. Markdown, we use our equation up here. Okay, so let's write down that equation. Our bigger number times 1 minus our percent decrease is equal to our smaller number. Okay, now let's try to find each one of these three parts of the equation. Okay, are we given the percent decrease in this problem? And what's the percent decrease? So our percent decrease, or our markdown, 0.20. Now in this case, we've been assuming that the bigger number is the number that we're given in the problem, right? So our bigger number is equal to 300. Now what would be our next step? That's exactly right. And so what we did is we decided which equation to use. We decided that it was a markdown because it told us explicitly in the problem. Therefore, we use this equation right here to solve. We decided that we had our percent decrease. We decided we had our bigger number, and we solved for the sales price. Can you explain to me really quickly? Is this bigger number right here in this problem, is this the original price or is it the sales price? Mm-hmm. And the smaller number, is it the original price or is it the sales price? Mm-hmm. So basically what we're doing when we have a markdown is we're taking some bigger number, in this case, right, because we're talking about sales, the bigger number is our original price. We're applying some sort of percent decrease to it, right? We're saying, okay, this is on sale for 20%, so we're going to take this original price, this $300, we're going to apply this 0.20, and this is going to spit out some sort of smaller number. Right? In this case, it's the sales price, which is what we're trying to solve for. Okay, does that make sense? Right. And so, let me test you really quickly. If we have a markup, right, we have the cost, we have the selling price, and we have the markup. Right, and when we're talking about a markup, we're taking the cost, we're applying a percent increase to it, right? Because we're saying, okay, let's say I made a shirt for $6. I want to increase this price by 40%, 0.40, and that's going to give me my selling price. Okay, just kind of like a conceptual idea. This isn't something you necessarily have to do, but just wanted to point that out. Okay, let's practice another markdown problem. So, let's say an exercise machine with an original selling price of $830 is marked down by 24%. What is the sale price of the exercise machine? Okay. In this problem, are we talking about a markup or a markdown? And why are we talking about a markdown? Good. So we can take hints from what they're telling us in the problem, and that's exactly right. Now, when we have our markdown equation, we have either this equation we can use or this equation we can use. Which one do we use? Yes, that's exactly right. And we could see that right here, right? Now, does it make sense to you how the original price is equal to the bigger number, right? You see these are the same equation, right? Except all I've done is I've put sales price as the smaller number, original price as the bigger number. Does that make sense to you? Okay, so let's take a look and try to explain that really quickly. So, right, we have an exercise machine with an original selling price of $830. So in that case, our original price is $830, right? Now, when we're talking about an original price going to a sales price, is the sales price going to be less or more? Just thinking about it. Right, and we can even think about this without thinking about the equations. Let's say that I have a baseball bat that is originally priced at $60, and I mark down the price 10%. So, would the sales price be less than that or greater than that $60? Right, because it wouldn't make sense to have a sale where, you know, the price of the item increases. It only makes sense to have a sale where the price is lower. So if we're talking about a sale specifically, doesn't it make sense that our smaller number is always going to be, or our bigger number, our original price is always going to be decreased to our sales price? Good, okay. And that makes sense to you? Good. All right, awesome. So in this case, right, we're going to use this equation. You were totally right. So we have our original price. And what is that equal to? Okay, we're doing number 6, actually. Hey, no worries. Yeah, that's exactly right. So that's our original price. We've decided that this is a markdown. So what is our markdown in this problem? And how can I write that as decimal? And what am I trying to solve for here? Or the price, the sales price. Right? And when I write something is equal to question mark, basically what I'm saying, this is what we're trying to solve for, right? Because we don't know this number. Does that make sense to you? Okay, good. Okay, so we have our equation right here. So let's go ahead and start plugging in. So what would be our first step in plugging in these numbers to solve the problem? Okay, good. So 0.76 times 830. And what unit are we talking about here? Are we talking about watermelons, giraffes, dollars, calculators? What are we talking about in this problem? We put a 0, and how can I express that this is money? Yeah, $630. Now, what were we solving for in this problem again? Right, so does it make sense that our answer, $630, is less than $830? And why do you think it does? Yes, exactly. That is a beautiful explanation. I literally could not have said it better myself. Right? When we're talking about a percent decrease, right, it doesn't make sense for our answer to go up because we know this number is going to get smaller because it's a decrease. Awesome. So do you have any questions about this equation, how these two numbers are the same, or about this process at all? Okay, cool. So it's kind of up to you because we're still studying. Do you want to keep practicing these markdown equations? Do you want to try some markup equations? Or do you want to try some of the problems we did a while back where we're given $2 amounts instead of, we're trying to find the percent decrease or increase? What kind of problem do you want to practice? Okay, good. Let's go ahead and practice those then. Go ahead and get a new page. Okay. So, do you remember the process that we go through in this problem, in this type of problem? That's exactly right. And right, our equation was the amount of change, which, like you said, we got by subtracting over the original quantity is equal to our percent of change. Good. So let's go ahead and practice that really quickly. So a computer store bought a program at a cost of $10 and sold it at a selling price of $13. Find the percent markup. Okay. So the first question that we're going to ask ourselves, that we always ask in this type of problem, is are we talking about a percent increase or a percent decrease here? And why is it an increase? Right, so the price is going up. Exactly. They also tell us that there's a markup. So we have two clues that we can use to decide if it's an increase. Okay, so percent increase. Now, what would be our original quantity in this problem, right? Because you mentioned this equation right here, the amount of change over the original quantity is equal to the percent of change. Which number is the original, the 10 or the 13? And why is it a 10? Exactly. And here's something that you might want to write down, just in case, it's kind of hard to decide when you have all of these ideas. So, if the original quantity goes up, we've decided that it's a percent increase. And if it's a percent increase, then the smaller number is our original quantity. I'll say that again. If the problem is talking about a percent increase, the smaller number is our original quantity. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. Now, I'm going to have another rule for you to put down, for you to remember. If we're talking about a percent decrease, the original quantity is always the bigger number. I'll say that again. If we're talking about a percent decrease, the original quantity is always the bigger number. And after we do this problem, we can put that to the test and practice it. Okay? Do you need me to repeat either of those two things? If we're talking about a percent decrease, the original quantity is the bigger number. Cool. And can you repeat what you wrote down for the percent increase? And what's going to be the smaller number? The original quantity. No worries, I just want to make sure you have it written down correctly so that it's not confusing when you go to take the test. So I'll repeat it one more time, just make sure you have it written exactly the way I say it. If we're talking about a percent increase, the original quantity is our smaller number. Good. Okay. So in this case, our smaller number is 10, so that's going to be our original quantity. Are you ready to move on with this problem? Cool. Okay, so what would be our next step in trying to solve for the percent markup? And that number represents our amount of change. Okay, 300%. So, remember we moved the decimal places 2 over? So, 1, 2. It's going to be 30%. Hey, no worries at all. That's totally okay. Okay. So do you have any questions about this percent markup problem where we're given $2 amounts and we want to find the percent markup? Okay, good. And do you have this equation written down somewhere where you can access it pretty easily? Okay, good. Okay, let's practice a type of problem where we have two numbers and we're given a percent markdown. So let's say I have a baseball bat that is selling for $60. And the price of the baseball bat is discounted to $40. Sales price. What is the percent decrease on the price of the bat? Okay, so the original price was $60, or the price was $60 before the discount, and it was discounted to $40. We want to find the percent decrease, or the markdown. So, first off, are we talking about a percent increase or a percent decrease? Okay, and so if we're talking about a percent decrease, which number is our original quantity? And why is it 60? That's exactly right. Okay, perfect. So what would be our next step? And so when you plug it into your calculator, did you do 60 over 20 or 20 over 60? Okay, good. I like that. I like that. That's kind of ambitious, and I like it because it shows some good initiative, and I like it. But let's always stick to using our equation and plugging things into the calculator, because I can't tell you how many times I even did something simple like a fraction, like 2/6, and I'm like, oh, that's, 0.2 instead of 0.3, and I got the answer completely wrong. So, let's just stick to using the calculator to make sure that everything's correct, or at least if you do it in your head, let's double check to make sure that everything's right. Because the calculator does not lie if we use it properly, but our brains lie sometimes. So, is there any final questions you have about the percent markup, percent